Hi, brothers and sisters. So the Lord had me do an object lesson on Facebook. He had me put up a poster that simply said Bob Marley was a prophet. Don't let the Puritans rule your spirit. And that was all, okay? And then I had it up for maybe a few hours, and then, some people said, yeah, I love his music or whatever. And then one guy came on, which was the fulfillment of the object lesson, and he came on and he said, I understand where you're coming from, that his music is spiritually inspired, blah, 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 but on the other hand. And then this brother, and he's like, I respect this brother, he's a very strong in the spirit brother. He was just the person that the Lord used for this lesson. And so the brother then brought up the very real, areas of disqualification that the churches do. And they say, well, Bob Marley was a Rastafarian, Bob Marley smoked pot, and they're the main two things, that his religion's disqualified and he smoked pot, which disqualifies him from the kingdom of God. So this brother wrote a very long, and for his privacy I'm not reading it or sharing his name, but he wrote a very long, detailed explanation, a very intelligent one, so there's no qualm about his level of intelligence, but it wasn't the spiritual answer. And what this brother did is he actually gave the for argument and the against in the very same thing. So, and he didn't argue. At the very end of it, he said to me that he trusts my relationship with the Lord and he's open for discussion. So what this brother actually did is he exemplified the right way to discuss something. He's brought the for and against, and then he's put it on the table and he said, now let's discuss it without argument. Now, his discernment showed both ends of the spectrum. So he's very close to completion of a synergy between opposing thought forms. Now, I'll have to be explaining this stuff about how you like what I mean by synergizing thought forms and stuff in another video. This is more just about the message that the Lord wanted me to share about Bob Marley and Bob Marley's music, and I'm sure he's going to have me do it with other singers as well. So this brother brought the argument, both sides of the argument forward, and then asked me, I'm willing, he said he's willing to listen. So then I said to him, this is what I responded to this brother. Hello, brother. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are open, because he said, I'm open. I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Open. And so I will respond to your spirit. Your wonderful comment reflects the very nature of our human disposition. You argued both for and against. You dueled it out in your mind, which is usually what two people do over an issue, on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere. Alas, you did the dueling of your own, which is a manifest sign of a stable, fixed and still mind. The Lord told me to post that quote. Now that you have completed the object lesson in faithfully providing the for and against in one vessel, I am permitted to tie the knot and bring this together. Bob Marley was a veiled and hidden prophet of Yah the Father. The three areas of societal bias are race, class, and gender, and add to class all manner of religious division and thought. Bob Marley was fathered by a white man. Few actually know this, and his mother was taken advantage of by an older man when she was 16. He was a rejected one. He was rejected a lot. As a young'un, the blacks in his hometown teased him, and the whites, relatives who were wealthy, denied him. He knew rejection based upon race, he knew it on gender, and he knew it on class, if you look into his career. His white family were white aristocracy by the name of Marley, which was a white name. Bob was a hidden lesson for humanity to not look at the shadows on the outside of a man's heart to disqualify him from the service of Yah the Father. Bob Marley did not actually relish in the fruits of his own labours. He gave most of it away. People would line up at his house and he would give to them abundantly. The one country that Bob Marley wept over not receiving him was the US of A. His audience was hippie whites, and Bob was struggling to understand why his brothers and sisters of African American descent were not so keen. Bob's name was lifted up, and when he died, his sons inherited his name, which was his inheritance. So the Bob Marley name continued through Ziggy Marley and the Marley brothers and the Marley family, and it's become a big marketable Marley brand. That's got nothing to do with Bob. Bob died in, a long time ago. So the point in this of the Bob Marley brand becoming so big is not so much about the money and the corporate issue. It's more about the name was a white name, but it was lifted up by a black face. Okay, now this is all about getting over your spectral division or your speculative judgment based on the three key parts, which are gender, race, and class. The Lord took a white name and gave it reverence in black skin. The funeral of Bob Marley was like a funeral to a prophet, and if you notice, the song sung at his funeral is an honour song to Yah the Father. Now I'm stopping my notes for a minute. I'm also going to tell you, when Haile Selassie, which was the self-appointed line of the tribe of Judah, which is the falsity in Rastafarianism. They believe that Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia, was the coming of the line of the tribe of Judah. When he came to Jamaica for the first time, all the people were at the airport. It was like when the Pope comes to town, right? It was that massive. And when he got off the plane, the people were actually quite surprised that he was this tiny, tiny little man. A fragile, tiny little thing. Anyway, the point is that the crowds came out for Haile Selassie. When Bob Marley died, the turnout was equal, if not greater, at his death. Okay? Oh, hang on. Lost my thing. Bob was the one required to end the civil unrest in his country. Do you think that was the devil's smiles? So what happened is when there was also civil unrest before he died, when there was civil unrest between factions between the government factions, and there became a civil war, Bob Marley was actually out of the country, right? Because they actually tried to kill him. Okay, there was a hit out on him, and his house was shot up. Anyway, he was out of the country. He left and got away from it because it shook him up that he was almost killed. So after a while, they called for him to come back. They called for him to come back to the country because the racial tension and the political tension got so bad that they knew the only one who could stop it was Bob Marley. So the two sides of the political parties went and spoke to Bob Marley. I don't know what country he was in. I think it might have been England. But they went and saw him and said, "Can you come back and do a concert?" Which is what he did the first time where he was shot at. "Can you come and do another concert to promote peace?" So Bob Marley says yes, and he went back. He went back and he did this concert of One Love, a One Love concert, and that simmered things down. Now, the devil can't do that, okay? Like, this is what I'm saying. People have a lack of discernment based on what they're looking at on the outside, the box they're putting someone in. Oh, he's a Rasta. That's not of God. None of the churches are correct. Not one. Not one single church on this planet is correct, is complete, has the complete truth. That is simply the truth. So it doesn't matter if you're a Presbyterian or if you're a Rastafarian. In my eyes, you're equal. Both of you have a mixture of truth and lie, right? Anyway, now I'm going back to the notes. Not one religion is correct. The Father simply hid in his own Ethiopic rib that evolved into Rastafarianism under the dark light of a puny little weasel, self-named and self-appointed, which was Haile Selassie, the emperor, like Lucifer tried to usurp Christ. Bob took that back, and let me reassure you, brother, he actually removed the Haile Selassie thorn from himself before he passed away. Bob Marley did not die still a Rastafarian. He was a Rasta man, but he wasn't, he wasn't still under Haile. He was disillusioned by Haile Selassie, and he actually went back to Ethiopic Orthodox. He died under the banner of Ethiopic Orthodox, which, although is also a tainted religious order, has the most reliable manuscripts the world has to offer because they were untouched and hidden from roving hands. Now, you might be sitting there saying, "Leanne, whatever, how would you know that? That's blasphemy." I went to university and I studied them, okay? Now, I'm not trying to big note and say I went to uni because I had a horrible time at university. They did not like me there because I was rocking the boat. And the Lord had me make a point of using these Ethiopic root books in my essays and stuff to the absolute it made the scholars that were my teachers very, very upset that I was doing that, and they kept saying I had an agenda. I did. I had the Lord's agenda. The Lord sent me in there as a thorn. But anyway, Bob sends the heart spirit back to the understanding, the truth underneath the foreskin. Okay. Notice that Rastas say overstanding to exemplify the looking above the natural. Chuckles, again trying to usurp the order. Under the foreskin of the heart, understanding, rip it off. Start looking for the spirit and not the outer, where the accuser will fill our minds with outside facts. You mentioned much regarding Rastafari. The importance of Rastafari teaching with the thorn of Haile Selassie happily removed is the point. From every church he intends to tear down the false image so he can reveal the understanding, what lies beneath all the natural shadows. And I would like you to use this model of cleansing a house I give you to understand what the Lord is going to do with these 7 churches. Now you will receive all this information in your inner heart and your spirit, and you will all begin to blow the trumpet in Zion and take this wisdom and end the infighting and dueling among believers. Bob Marley was a lion of the tribe of Judah, a little version, an offering to prepare the hearts, a devout offering to the world of perfect love through an imperfect vessel. The lion laid down with the lamb and unlocked an offering of perfect love unencumbered by race, class, and gender. The Father hid in him and was brighter than the sun, but was still the sun because the Father and the Son are one. Now on to marijuana. Bob Marley smoked pot. It was his smoke screen. He also followed a herbal remedies lifestyle, and even when he was dying and tried chemotherapy, which he really shouldn't have, it was a reaction to fear. He destroyed his immune system, destroyed his immune system beyond repair. He then sought the best naturopathic doctor, but the damage was irreversible. However, it was God's perfect plan. Marijuana in smoke form is not recommended, but again, a hidden truth lie in that 7-branched leaf. On one level, the 7 churches, there is a metaphor. On another, more significant note, it is the herb of homeostasis, the herb to heal all things. It is in its cannabinoid oil state, it is an oil of gladness. It has limitless potential to cure, and it was a gift to humanity. But like everything else, its use was tainted. Look deeper, my brothers and sisters. This Bob Marley lesson is only an example of how you can take somebody's life work, you can take somebody's offering to this planet, and you can say, oh, it's not of God because they fit this stereotype and they fit that stereotype. And in doing that, you are absolutely missing out on the gift of what it is that that person was bringing to the planet. And Bob Marley, the Lord, Yah, God Almighty, used him to prepare the hearts for an offering of perfect love. And that perfect love time is here. So now the Father is saying, listen to these songs and hear the wisdom in the lyrics, because this man was very wise. Okay? On another note, there is nobody on this planet that is a perfect vessel to sing for the Lord. The only perfect person was Jesus Christ himself, and I don't think he sung. I don't think he recorded music. So if you want to be a Puritan that says, I can't put my ears to this, and you shouldn't listen to that, and you shouldn't listen to the Hillsong stuff, and you shouldn't listen to the Presbyterian stuff, and you shouldn't listen to the country singers that do a gospel album because they've sold out to Satan. If you continue to do that, then I guess you better just look no evil, see no evil, and hear no evil, because everything in this reality that we look at is absolutely tainted and corrupt. Even the food. And don't eat. Just remember, do not put food in your mouth, because all that is poison too. So stop being Puritans. If you have, this is the message, this is the truth of it. If you have the spirit of Yeshua HaMashiach alive and well inside your heart and your mind, then it doesn't matter what you hear and what you see, right? You will see the truth in it. You will see the truth in it. The problem is, and I heard a sister say this in a video a little while ago, like I'm literally mean like just a few minutes ago, and she said something, I don't know how to quote her exactly, but something along the line of, people are always worried about what the devil is doing. They're always worried about what the enemy is doing, yeah? And I agree with her. That's the mistake that they're making. They're focusing on the darkness instead of looking onto the light. And so if you choose to look at everything through Christ's eyes and look at everything with the Spirit of God, then first of all, he's not going to bring anything toward you that he doesn't want you to receive anyway, right? I mean, if you're really in the fullness of Jesus Christ, then how can anything bad come near you anyway? And even if it did, you should be able to spot it real quick and in a hurry and get rid of it. But what you're doing is, you're judging the people. You're saying Bob Marley's music's got to go because he was a Rastafari, I'm not listening to his music. What happened to judging the powers and the principalities and not the people? You know, we can call out and correct, but what do you want to do? You want to call Bob Marley up from the grave and correct him on it? It wasn't the end day when Bob Marley, okay, let me put it this, I'm going to actually expand on this. Paul McCartney, John Lennon, you know, all of these marvelous poets, okay, and they released some music that was mind-blowing. Dolly Parton, you know, like I've been listening to Dolly Parton the last few days. Dolly Parton stuff, I mean, that woman wrote more songs than I think anyone else, you know, and her stuff is, if you're listening to it in the Spirit of Christ, it's amazing stuff. But everyone will say, oh, no, you can't listen to her, you can't listen to her. When a lot of these songs were written and when a lot of these songs were put out, there was no such thing as the people coming out of the churches like we are now. This is new. This is new. We are living that. We are doing that. Okay? We are the ones in these last days who have come out of the churches and who have started to take in a deeper level of manna and a deeper letter of marrow. You know, a deeper, you know, I a long time ago I used to always say, there was the milk and then there's the meat and then there's the ones he takes into the marrow, the bone marrow, okay? And you go real deep. Now when you go there, when you go into that place, there's a freedom that exists there because you know how to discern things in a way that the people who are on the milk don't know how to do, okay? And this is where Paul talked about things being, you know, where you become above, you know, figure of speech, above the law, where it no longer applies to you. It doesn't no longer apply to you in the sense that you're allowed to go doing what you want. It means that a lot of the restrictions have been lifted off of you because your discernment is well enough to figure it out for yourself. You don't need to be, your TV channels don't need to be blocked, you know, for under 18 viewing only or PG viewing only. It doesn't need that anymore because you've matured enough to be able to make these decisions and to be able to discern with the Spirit instead of discerning these obvious cues like, you know, I'm a Rasta or I'm a Presbyterian or I'm a Baptist, or you don't look at that anymore. That no longer matters anymore, okay? But all of these singers that I've mentioned, a lot of this music was written, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s, okay? They weren't in this. They weren't preparing for this latter rain. They were coming from a place where if you were either religious or you were not religious. So that was where the offering of God came from. It came within this pool of people that existed then. So stop judging them on not being as where you are now when that wasn't on offer to them. It wasn't on offer. They were not shaken the way we've been shaken. They were not prepared for the end the way we've been prepared. So take it for what it was. They were gifts of the Spirit and they were sharing their spirit, and you have the capability to be able to take from that what is talking to Christ in you, and you have the ability to discern what is not. Now, what is not talking to you, don't listen to. But do not go to everyone else and say, that song's not of God. You shouldn't listen to that. You're blasphemous. I'm blocking you from my Facebook channel. You know, like, it's just silly. And this is the type of disqualification and separation that Bob Marley was all about ending. You know, racial separation, class separation, and this is what tribulation is going to be about for everyone on the planet. There is going to be an explosion of racial tension, gender tension, and class tension. All those things are going to come to the forefront. So if you are a child of the Most High God, you will do your best now to get these thorns out of you so that you aren't stirred when the big stirring comes to everyone else on the planet. Thank you, brothers and sisters.